Welcome everyone to another episode of the Not Another Yoga Class podcast and LinkedIn Live series. I'm here with my friend Sarah Farmer, the executives coach, founder of Bright and Brilliant, newly branded. And this is a great show because it is the least planned show that has ever gone out on this series. Welcome, Sarah.
Hello, that should be my real title, the one that doesn't plan that far ahead. Yeah, thank you very much for having me. Looking forward to our chat.
Yes, my pleasure. So today we're going to be talking about confidence. And what we wanted to do is connect confidence to well-being within an organization. Now, where that begins, that conversation, I'm not entirely sure. But I guess because you're talking to senior leaders, that seems like a good place to start. So from your perspective, where can confidence be built from in an organization?
Top down. I would say always top down. It's interesting when you go into organizations, they're looking to develop people. It's often the people right at the ground level doing the really hard work that get the investment. And I get that. But actually, it doesn't make enough of you don't get a big return on investment if what's happening at the top isn't optimized as well. So where you've got leaders who are not as confident as they could be, not as emotionally intelligent as they could be, that's going to trickle down to everybody. And whatever we do at the bottom isn't going to work as well unless it's going right from up here, because it affects everybody.
That makes sense. So let's look at this as a problem then. So let's imagine an organization where the senior leaders have absolutely no confidence. How does that look and how does that manifest?
That's really scary. So the first thing, the first thing you say is that it's rare that they have no confidence. What happens is, as people get more senior and more get more accountability as they go up the chain and get more and more responsibility behind them, a certain level of fear often creeps in, and I think rightly so, because you've got a huge responsibility now, not just for yourself but for your whole organization. So people that tend to work with me don't show up with no confidence at that level. They've got confidence, but they know it's not optimized, which means it shows up like this, that they make decisions a little bit slower. They worry about the decisions that they're making, which slows everything down. And where we've got a reduction in time to achieve X, you've got an increase in cost, okay? It affects behavior. So people that are feeling under pressure or not as confident start to behave very strangely. You know, we know what it's like when we're stressed out and when we're worried about something. You can't behave in the most optimized, effective way you'd want someone to be in your leadership team, how they'd be behaving. So that then affects relationships, that affects trust. Where you've got a problem with trust, you've got an impact on how businesses run, and then that filters down to everybody else and behaviors start to spread throughout the organization. And then boom, you've got an epic problem that could have been resolved by investing in these people, helping them have the confidence and the skills, because they're not all trained to do that job, to go and do it properly. And one thing I always say is with less stress, because it is stressful. It's a big job.
Let's connect this a little bit more to well-being then. So stress has popped up there, and potentially even burnout as a result of all this additional stress. What other ways, from the perspective of well-being, can this kind of bleed out?
Yeah, it's a good question. So if you think about if we imagine the leader hasn't had the support and the training and doesn't have the knowledge of how to handle themselves as stressful situations occur, they then impact the people that are reporting into them, and the chain goes on. And what that does is it puts fear into the employees, not just the leader at the top who's already feeling the fear. It starts feeding fear into the organization. It starts to affect psychological safety, which I know you know about, but for those that don't, it's just what humans need to be able to perform at their best in their role, whatever level they're at. So as soon as we start to get uncertainty, we start to impact psychological safety. And when we impact psychological safety all down the chain, it starts to affect productivity. It starts to affect health. Absenteeism goes up, presenteeism goes up, quiet quitting starts to occur. And the numbers associated with that are caused by, I'm going to say less than optimal leadership. It's not fair to say it's poor leadership. Sometimes it is, often it's just less than optimal. It's huge. It's millions of pounds every year across organizations across the world. So yeah, there's a cost thing, but when we look at the humans on the end of this, they can get poorly. And the leaders can get poorly. You see things like, simple things like skin conditions come up, eczema, psoriasis. One of the worst ones I ever saw was somebody was put on beta blockers because they couldn't control their anxiety and were told they were at high risk of a stroke. It's not okay. It's not, I'm not here to scare people, but this is serious. When people don't feel well up here, it affects your whole body.
Yeah, gut issues. We throw that into that list.
Oh, IBS. I mean, exactly. That's where it always hits me, is in the stomach. Always in the stomach, and that can be really, really uncomfortable. So yeah, it has an impact in cost, health, financial, mental, physical, every way.
That's great. I was going to steer that conversation towards the costs that have to occur, but you've already covered it, mate.
I'm all about giving extra here.
So what can be done then? I think we're all sold on the fact that confidence or low confidence, especially from the senior leadership level, can bleed and manifest in lots of really nasty ways.
Yeah.
What can be done? What should be the approach? Does it change between different organizations and different industries, or is it relatively similar?
No, I mean, brains don't change, do they? Some people will say to me, well, have you worked in this industry before? I'm like, do you have a brain? Is it attached to a body? Then, fine, we're in the right place. It doesn't matter what industry you work in. Obviously, there are nuances in different sectors where certain things are accepted and certain things aren't. So that's different. That's a totally different conversation. But the approach is the same, is to learn to lead yourself. And that isn't necessarily meaning that you have full-blown imposter syndrome and you have to, control all those urges and negative emotions that go with that. Some people just need to understand themselves. Actually, no, we all need to understand ourselves better. If you want to be really effective, learn to understand how you behave, why you behave that way, how it manifests, and then how it's impacting not just you, but everybody around you. And when I do this work, I go really deep. I look at the ripple and see how far it goes. And that usually really stops people in their tracks. And like, oh my goodness. So it's not that I'm just affecting my team, but it's affecting my family, and it's affecting the key stakeholders, and it's affecting actually the clients that we serve. And you're like, whoa, okay. Now I have a real reason to do something about this. The thing is, most of us go around running on unconscious all the time. We just go, and it's like press go in the morning. We're like, we carry on. What I do is I go, right, let's stop. Let's have a look. Then we see what's working and what's not. And then the next part of that is rewiring the brain, which is done through some very, very simple methods. It just takes a lot of repetition, repeated action, to change the way you think, change the way you feel, change what you do when you choose to. You don't have to do it all the time. And once you've done that, you start to see a massive difference in how you're showing up and how people respond to you. And you start to become this, it's like becoming a magnet. You become a magnet for the success and the relationships and whatever it is you're looking for. It starts to come towards you. It isn't just woohoo manifestation. No. I don't do any of woohoo. Not that I have a problem with woohoo, love it. But this is proper neuroscience. And it works. And when you follow that process, things really start to change.
I've noticed in doing, I think we're on about episode 12 of these, one thing that keeps popping up is this holding up the mirror. Is this identifying what, maybe not weakness is a bad word, maybe flaws is a bad word, but having a better understanding of the situation, whether that's with the team or with yourself or whatever it is, before making those next steps. And I think that's probably the thing that a lot of senior leaders or organizations are maybe skipping out. Maybe they're trying to jump too quickly to the result, to the end result.
And I get that. So I call them opportunities. I really get irked by the words that people use to put themselves down, because the words that we use to describe our development opportunities, if they're negative, we then naturally assume that what we're doing is wrong and we're bad, and that has a negative connotation. So part of the work I do is about removing the words that cause us harm. But yeah, going back to your point, the leaders are looking. The good news is they want to make a difference. They most leaders don't go into work going, I want to upset people today and I was about to swear, sorry, and do bad things. I want to go in and do the right thing, but they don't know how, and they're not given the time, and they don't choose to take the time. So there's a bit of, a lot of leaders will go, oh, I haven't got the time. Well, you could choose to make the time, to save the time, which will gain you time, but it's all about choices. But yeah, a lot of people hope there's a quick win. And actually this process that I use, it can work within 4 to 6 weeks. It's pretty fast. And people do it slightly quicker, actually. But anyone knows if you want something to be good, it takes investment. And I don't mean money, I mean in here. If you're not willing to invest, you're not going to see the changes. And this is why we have this 2% club, right? The 2% of the people who will always be above everyone else. They're the ones that go, I've got a growth mindset. Come and help me make it even better. And they're the people I love to work with. They're amazing.
Yeah, it's very true, isn't it? The people that are really successful that I've spoken to in the past, you can tell that they live in the grey, that they're always willing to accept something new. You speak to people who are kind of stuck in a job they don't enjoy, and they've surrounded themselves by people that they don't really like or really get on with, and a bit toxic. They're the opposite, completely closed-minded, don't want to hear it, very aggressive when you start to dip into maybe you're doing this or whatever, you know what I mean? You take half a step forward to them and they just rub the tackle.
They're operating in what we describe as a scarcity mindset. And the scarcity mindset is based on fear. And it's the fear of what that's fascinating. But these people are too scared to even look into the fear, to see it and look it in the eyes and go, well, what is it I'm actually scared of? But when they do, and I have had people who they want to be in growth, but they're in scarcity. They're like, well, let's just have a little look around. And they're like, oh, it's actually not that scary. I'm actually quite good. It's just this. You're like, yeah. People assume that they're going to find out stuff they really don't want to know. And it's very rarely like that. But then you have got some real narcissistic leaders, humans in general, not just leaders, who go, no, I'm right, you're wrong, go away. Okay, fine, bye-bye. I'm not interested. Really, my job isn't to convince those people.
Yeah.
That's not what we're here for. We can educate as much as you like, but some people will never want to change. And great, because the ones that do, that gives them the opportunity to shine so brightly. Then, brilliant. If everybody wanted to be brilliant, we'd have a problem, wouldn't we?
Would.
I mean, we'd be, I don't know, we'd be rolling it, wouldn't we? Because we'd have loads of business.
Yeah, I like to think that way as well, mate. Where you've had a recent rebrand, and it's excellent.
Thank you.
If people wanted to find out more about what you do, where would they go?
Well, they can go to the new holding page for the new website, which is brightandbrilliant.com, proper and, not the ampersand, which I was using before. And they can look at that. There's a couple of quizzes on there that people can take on emotional intelligence and imposter syndrome. And they can get in touch if they want to have a chat with me about the future, just explore opportunities. They can also look at my LinkedIn profile. As you know, I'm often on there. If you want to get a feel for what I do and what I talk about, then head over to my LinkedIn profile. Let's connect and see where the future takes us.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on. You're right. That was easy.
Yeah, really easy, right?
Just vomit this stuff out. I love it.
Thanks, Jamie.
Okay, have a good day. Bye-bye.